I met a gypsy.
Like you look at a guy like Sexton to me, right? So his technique is almost flawless. Like there's just at no point is Chase Sexton looks out of control, uncomfortable, sketchy, but he can go so fast doing that. Whereas you look at other guys like an Osborne, like he kind of looks like he's on the edge. So I think that the whatever your base level default technique ability is, that lets you go X fast. And then the weird fringe shit that you do that's like your own unique style lets you go like X plus Y. And then that might equal, you know what I mean? That equals your speed. Whereas it's like a dude like Chase is almost like, no, it's just technique. Like there's no real stepping outside the box. And maybe Wyndham was a guy like that as well. And I think that that's especially true. I think you see it more in the lights class because on the lights bike, you could ride with like perfect technique and the bike's going kind of like almost as fast as it can. So then it's like to get more out of that little power plant, you've got to override and exaggerate the body and like milk it, almost like when you see guys on like BMX bikes and they're just like ripping the thing back and like forcing it down on the ground, like it's almost like some of that flary sort of stuff that like looks super fast, I think maybe comes from the fact that guys spend so much time on bikes that are like quite a bit slower than what they can actually go.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like seeing someone, I'll use RJ Hampshire as an example because he's one of my good friends and I got to watch him ride a lot, like in person. He is, I mean, he's borderline scary to watch when he's going all out because, man, there's a very small percentage of the time that both of his feet are on the pegs because he is just hammering that hard, like wide open, does not care, like sending it as hard as he can. And you're like, there's no possible way anyone could ever go faster than that and like not be in the hospital every week. And then like Porcel will come out and spin the same exact lap time, and you'd swear he was in like on a sight lap. You know, it's insane to me that just completely two different like types of riding styles and like finesse, and they both get the exact same job done. They could be within a 1,000th of a second of each other.
What do you put that down to then? Like when you have to think about that and try and figure out like what's actually going on there as a dude that could be a doctor, like what do you think? You know what I mean? Like what does that smart person brain of yours attribute that to?
I mean, I think a lot of it is like just the way your body composition is, to be honest, like how you're put together. I mean, I sometimes I feel like I am on the ragged edge, like almost dying through a section, and I watch it back and I'm like, dude, that looked completely fine, in control, like I could have gone way faster through there. And so like I don't know whether there's like any science behind it. I think it's just how you choose to ride a dirt bike, really. I don't know. I think it's just how you're made.
Yeah, there's been a thing like I've definitely had the theory a bunch of times. Well, not a bunch of times, but like my consistent theory of that is that there's got to be like something going on at like the at a neural level in your brain in terms of like what feels fast, because fast has to be subjective. Because I'd say that there's an objective feeling of wanting to hit the brakes, but there's a subjective point in time and space that each person hits the brakes.
Wow, you're getting deep in there, brother. You're getting philosophical on me.
I've
But
thought
yeah,
about it.
yeah, I don't
Yeah,
know
I've
if
thought
it's
about it a
just
lot.
bike setup style. A lot of people just like when they're younger, they do things that they think look cool on a dirt bike, and then they find a way to make that efficient for themselves somehow.
Mm.
So that might be part of it. But at the end of the day, it's like there's just so many different ways to get the job done, and like as long as you can make yours work. I mean, Osborne's a perfect example. I've heard some people say that he's got like the least efficient style they've ever seen, but dude, how can you say anything about it? He wins a championship. It's like in one aspect, I think it's sick that motocross is like that, because like you don't have to be built a certain way or fit some certain like,
Mm.
guideline or whatever. Like you can be yourself no matter how imperfect and messed up that it is, and you can still go win a championship. Like it doesn't matter. You can just be a gnarly dude and get it done.
Yeah, dude, definitely. I think that like that feeling though, like that objective feeling that you get that makes you want to hit the brakes or like tell you that you're like you just said you think you were going like full pin through that section. I think that that's a very objective feeling. Like I have that exact same feeling. If I go through like any section that I ride through and you ride through, if someone was there coaching us and said like, "All right, boys, go through that section as fast as you can," I would guarantee that our objective experience of the feeling of being on the edge or like that scared feeling that would stop you from going faster, I'd argue that's the exact same thing. So there just has to be something different going on in terms of like the level of like the brain, whether it's like maybe James Stewart could just process shit like so quickly to where the speed that he could do something like because everyone's getting to like this maximum point of like fuck. You know what I mean? Like everyone has that. There's no one that's like, oh, I can go this fast because I don't go fuck, I need to hit the brakes. Everybody needs to hit the brakes before a turn to feel like they make that turn. So I'd argue that that feeling's the same, but there's something else going on that lets you that I guess makes that point hit different with each people. Like if we had like a marker at like where people's breaking points were, like that's probably like an easy way to measure it, And then obviously what you're saying is that technique comes into that. Like I've noticed that as my technique's gotten better, I've gotten faster because essentially it's like that a motorcycle is like a weight and a counterweight, or you're the counterweight and the bike's the weight, or the bike's vice versa. So there's definitely like this syncing that has to happen, and then when you get those two weights to sync up, then it becomes like quite easy to use the accelerator. But yeah, I mean it's definitely like I'd love to really know exactly what was going on. But I think to speak on what you just said is that like Zach Osborne's level of fitness and heart and determination and like all of those factors can just hit that override switch on everything that I just said.
Yeah, I think a lot of it just comes down to like just where you are relative to someone else in terms of speed. Like sometimes I'll go through a section, all day, and I'll think that I'm as absolutely pinned and out of control as I can get through that section. And then I'll watch Tomac go through it, and I'm like, okay, it's physically possible to go that fast. I'm just going to try going a little bit faster this time. And you do it, and you're like, that was fine, dude. There's no reason I couldn't have been doing that the whole time. And then you're like, oh, well, I guess I'll just try and go a little bit faster. And I think a lot of people just think that they're going to crash if they go that fast. And if they just did it one time, if they just tried going that fast through the section one time, they would realize that like, you're going to be fine, dude. You can do it every lap. But don't go out and try to go through a section wide open because I said that, all right? I don't want anyone sliding in my DMs with some heat on me.
I did that, man, and my lap time didn't drop. I just got a compound fracture.
Yeah. Yeah. Nah, we don't need any of that. But no, that's kind of like back what we were talking about before, like kind of what happened where I just randomly picked up speed as I watched my brother go through a corner, and I was just like, dude, I mean, if I crash, if I tip over in a corner, it's whatever, dude. I'm just going to go through it that fast and just see if I can do it. And then I was like, that was so easy. Like, why don't I do this every time?